I promised myself I was going to leave this Clodbuster alone. What is going on, YouTubers? Big Philly with Poor Boys RC. Thank you again for tuning in today. I'm going to do something I promised myself I wasn't going to do here. I've got this gorgeous Clodbuster re-released, the Super Clodbuster Black Edition, which I absolutely adore. It is completely box stock. It has the factory 540 silver can motors, and it has the factory Tamiya ESC, which leaves a little bit to be desired. I really wanted to just leave this thing alone. The last time I touched a Clodbuster, I got a little bit carried away. There, spent a few bucks. One thing led to another, and before you knew it, the thing was bloody well insane, and it's still a ton of fun to drive. But now that modified Clodbuster is a ton of fun to drive, and I do not regret, changing it, modifying it the way I did. But I wanted to get another Clodbuster and keep it stock. And I've made one running video, which I'll throw a link down in the description of, so you guys can watch it. It was a ton of fun running this thing, but I still felt it was just a little bit underpowered. So today's video, we're going to do some mild upgrades to this thing, and that's it. I promise I'm going to leave it right there. We're going to put a little more power in it. We're going to upgrade the motors to something with a little more juice, and upgrade the ESC to an ESC that can handle motors that put out a little more juice. Come on, check it out. Here we have the supplied speed controller that came with this kit, the Tamiya TEU 106BK. Nice little speedo, works for a dual motor setup. Unfortunately, you can't go past a 25 turn motor, and the stalkers are 27, and I wanted something a little more, with a little more oomph than a 25. And here we have the motors of choice for this application, guys. We're gonna go with the Dynamite 20 turn 540. I did want to keep them brushed. I didn't want to go brushless. Wanted to keep it looking nice and relatively stock-ish. These motors have some nice cool decals on there, the big 20 turn on there. I thought that would look neat with the black and white with the Black Edition Clod, and pre-wired with the bullets. You know, these are a nice little add-on. Again, the stock motor is a 27 turn. Here we're going to 20. So this will give us just a little bit more juice and not be too crazy. And the speed controller that's going to tackle this job is going to be the Hobbywing Quick Run 880. This is a glorious speedo that I've used in a couple different applications, and this one is designed to run dual brushless motors. I think it can handle down to, I want to say, a 17 turn or maybe even a 12 turn motor. So that is, this guy's gonna not be stressed out at all running these 220 turns. And as a nice little bonus, it's also waterproof, which is fantastic, makes it really easy for cleanup. And should you decide to bash in some puddles, you're not gonna fry your electronics. So I've got my soldering iron warmed up here, guys, and first thing we have to do with this Hobbywing ESC is, as we crack this guy open, I love these ESCs, but my one complaint is that well, I guess I can't complain too bad. Here, there's no connector on here for your battery. Typically, I run a lot of the Hobbywing 1060s in most of my rigs, and they come pre-wired with the old school Tamiya style connector, which is very obsolete. I've always got to cut them off and replace them. In this case, it did not come with a connector. I was already prepared. I've got my Deans that I run on all my rigs, so I've already gone ahead and tinned the back end of this. And if you guys ever want to see like a soldering how-to, let me know and I can put something together for you. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to get these things soldered up here. So these wires already came pre-tinned, a little bit of solder on there already, which is fantastic. So just going to pop this into my handy dandy extra set of hands, which have seen better days. Let's see how well I can do this on camera. little bit cold to me. I'm gonna get a little more heat on that. Looks like they may have used a different style of solder or something on these wires from the Hobbywing factory. My solder doesn't seem to be loving it, so I'm just putting a little bit of soldering paste or flux on there, and that is going to help tremendously with adhesion. Adhesion, is that the word? Solderability, is that a word? I don't know. But it's going to make that solder want to flow out a lot better. Look at that, what a difference. Too much on there now, but hey, at least it flowed out nice. And that is going to be a much better joint, much stronger joint. Really ugly, way too much solder, but that is going to be extremely strong. So 1 down, 1 to go. All right, guys, so as you can see, I've taken 2 tires off, and I did that just so I can get better access to the screws that hold the motor in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and start removing the 2 screws to get the motors out. Those 2 screws out, we can get this motor out here, I think. Maybe I'll pop out the ESC first and disconnect the motor cables. That sounds like a better start to things.
Every 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
So just remove this top plate, move that out of the way, and that's going to give us access to our on-off switch here, which also needs to be removed. So our ESC is now out. I am going to hang on to this. I think I have a plan for this for another build. Put that guy aside. Still have one more motor to get out of here. So put them off to the side for now. What's next? Here are the new motors, guys. We're going to end up putting in here the Dynamite 20 turns. And another reason why I chose these is with the Clod Buster, you've got 2 motors and it's a motor on axle setup. So when selecting motors, make sure you choose motors that one can operate in the reverse rotation. Again, because you've got one in the front, one in the back, one of the motors has to work in reverse. So a 0 timing motor is what you're going to need. If you're running 2 motors and they have advanced timing and you're running one of those advanced timing motors in reverse, you are going to, well, that motor is going to be working a lot harder than the other, or vice versa, and you'll end up burning motors out, and you'll have understeer and oversteer and all sorts of weird steer problems going on because the motors are going to be fighting each other. So imperative to get a 0 timing motor if you decide to go this route. First thing first, we have to swap over the pinion gears, which maybe I used a little too much Loctite on that one, and just remember that gap right there. Remember the positioning of it. When you do this, you've got a flat spot on this output shaft. Make sure the grub screw sits on that flat spot. One down, one to go.
Computers now
there they are, guys. Pinion gears are mounted. Motors are ready to go into the Clodbuster.
Computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions. Computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
And remember, guys, since these motors are 0-degree timing, it doesn't matter which one goes in the front or the back. Just remember, you get 0-degree timing motors. Motors installed. All right, guys, we're almost there. We've got the motors installed. I put the tires back on, as you can see, just did that off camera. Pretty simple thing to do. Now, the next step we're gonna have to perform is getting our new ESC installed. So first thing I'm gonna do is just get this motor plate out of the way. So our next step here, guys, is to take our ESC and wire up the motors. Now, be careful. You've got two sets of yellow cables and two sets of blue cables. And think of it this way: if you count your cables, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1 and 3 will go to one motor, 2 and 4 will go to the other motor. So 1 and 3 I'm going to hook up to my rear motor. And 2 and 4, I'll hook up to the front motor. Easy peasy, guys, just like that. So ESC is in, motor wires. Just want to do a little bit of testing before I button everything up. So I've got everything plugged in. I just popped a battery in off camera just to do a little bit of testing. Again, before you take this thing out, anytime you do a modification like this, make sure you do your testing first before you go out onto the field. So I've got my radio here. I will turn my receiver on, ESC on, test out the throttle, and first thing you notice is I'm pressing forward, so my front tires are spinning forward, but my rears are going in reverse. What does that tell us? So it looks like our motor wires on the back end are reversed. So let's get those switched around. So it's these two here. So simple as. Again, I should have thought of that because having them run forward isn't going to work because they're on the back of the truck. So let's try that test out again. Radio on, ESC on, throttle test. All right. Oh, baby. Please don't mind my super sketchy old noisy servo. So that's it for today's project, guys. Thank you again so very much for tuning in. We've given a little bit more horsepower to this Clodbuster. You bet I'll do another running video of it to show off its new power. Some slap wheelie action for you guys. It'll be sick. And thank you again for tuning in. Please take a minute, like, share, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it if you did. And as always, be excellent to each other.